Chris, and this is my review for the 2009 Royal Rumble. Happened tonight, and overall, I would say it was a very good show. I wouldn't call it a great show. I don't know. I definitely think it was better than last year's, even though probably didn't. Yeah, definitely. It felt better than last year's. It felt far more entertaining than last year's. I did buy this, for those of you that are wondering. I always buy the Rumble, always buy WrestleMania. And I don't know, it was much better than last year's, in my opinion. People always say, well, if you go by ratings, you can't simply go by, star ratings or how good the individual matches are. You have to take the show as a whole and how the whole show felt, not just pieces of the show. So, and overall, I thought this was a lot better than last year's effort, but still not a great pay-per-view. But very, very good pay-per-view. I did have fun watching most of it. I just didn't, after watching it, I just didn't feel like it was something people needed necessarily to go out of their way to see. But let's get started. We started the night with Jack Swagger versus Matt Hardy. This was pretty good. If it had been, or I shouldn't say it was pretty good. It was just kind of okay. It's kind of slow. It looked like a lot of the time they were just kind of going through the motions. There was a couple of good spots, it didn't help that the fans really had no idea who Jack Swagger was. Absolutely no clue. Didn't, you could tell, don't watch ECW. You always hear people say that when they talk about ECW matches. They don't watch ECW, and so it just was kind of there, even though if the fans had been into it a little bit more, and they were definitely into Matt, but if they had been into it a little bit more, I think the match would have been better. I think it would have given them something to feed off of, but there just wasn't much there. So, but it was a very good, solid match, I felt. So there you go. Next we had Beth Phoenix versus Melina. This was a very fun women's match where you had Beth dominating most of it. They played up Melina being, the scrappy little, face. Melina won with a pretty good looking roll up. It wasn't just a roll up. It was a pretty good roll up. There was a couple of good spots. The spot of probably, the second spot of the night, only because I didn't think there would be anything that could top this. But there was something that topped this on this pay-per-view, where Beth had Melina and her leg bent over and was pounding her with her own foot. Beth was pounding Melina with her own foot on the back of her head. I've seen that spot in Shimmer a few times, but not quite to this extent. This was fairly awesome, and Melina, being the nimble minx that she is, was able to get bent like that. Pretty good little match, told a pretty good little story. I wish the fans had been a little bit more into it. They were into parts of it, but they were definitely more into Santino than they were either of the two women, which was kind of there. Next we had the first storyline match of the night. This was definitely that. John Cena versus JBL. And who would care about a John Cena versus JBL match? Because this was kind of the fate of Shawn Michaels. As far as a wrestling match, this wasn't very good. As far as a match telling a good story, as far as storyline purposes, this was a pretty good little match. My only big problem was they did a ref bump at the end. Shawn was supposed to make his decision. He ended up first super kicking JBL, then he super kicked John Cena and put JBL over John Cena, and then it took freaking forever for a ref to show up. Way too long. The timing on that was a bit off. That would be my only minor critique, but just kind of like, are they ever going to get a ref out there? Are they ever going to get a ref out there? And it took way too long, and I think that took a little bit away from the match. But overall, it was an entertaining match because they did play up the Shawn Michaels thing pretty well. So there you go. Next we had Jeff Hardy versus Edge. And this was another match people were looking extremely forward to because everyone figured we would get the payoff for the stuff that had been happening to Jeff Hardy. And we did, to a huge surprise. They turned into a no DQ match, which kind of tipped everyone, okay, we're going to get the run in. Though, Chavo came down with Edge to start out the match. And Chavo did almost go through a table. I can't really say he went through a table. because Jeff went off of a ladder supposed to land on him, but it really on Chavo, but it really didn't turn out that way, and it did not look good for Jeff. But they got to the end of the match. Vicky came out, cost Jeff the match. Then Matt came out, and they were going to both team up on Edge, and then Matt clonked Jeff with a unprotected headshot, which I'm sure some people will complain about, except I think it worked here because it just showed the viciousness of what happened, and then Matt played it up perfect. He was the guy, apparently, who has been causing Jeff's life's hell, probably because, you know, here is Matt, who has played by the rules, done all of those things, and has never gotten the same accolades that Jeff has, who, you know, we all know Jeff's story. So I imagine that's how it's going to play out. I think that could be a very good story. People have been talking about, should it be Matt, should it be Christian for a while. The fans didn't get Christian, but I have no problem with that, because watching this, it kind of dawned on me, something that would be really cool to see at WrestleMania. And since I'm going, I think this would be cool to see. Instead, you know, a lot of people were talking about Edge and Christian versus Jeff and Matt one more time. How about if you reversed it a little bit and you had Jeff and Christian versus Edge and Matt? I don't know if fans would buy the whole Edge and Matt thing, but that might be interesting to see as well in a tag match and a TLC match. So there you go. That would be a nice little wrinkle to that. And next we had the Royal Rumble match. As most people know, if you've watched wrestling for a pretty long time, most people do. This is the match which kind of usually says, is this a good pay-per-view or not? It's the last match of the night. It takes up about an hour of time, so it is important to the overall feel of the show. The match started out very well. Very, very well, in fact. It was a lot of fun to watch at the start. You had Rey Mysterio starting out with Morrison, then Carlito, then MVP. So right there you had lots of good little spots going on for the most part. Then they brought out Great Khali, and that was, you were like, ooh, how are they going to, eliminate Khali? Kozlov came out. Kozlov eliminated Khali, blah. Then he eliminated Carlito, blah, again. Because Carlito looked really good. I mean, the guys that started this looked really good, set a really good pace. Then Triple H came out. He buried freaking Kozlov after that. It was stupid. It was like, well, that was moronic. And then Orton came out, and it was, which would have meant more, because then Orton and Triple H kind of went at it. If they had played up the fact that Triple H was kind of concerned, at least concerned about Vince, and that though they had been kind of playing up the whole Orton thing, was Orton going to get fired on Raw? Was Orton going? What was going to happen with Orton on Raw? They were playing that up a lot. But then he showed up, Orton did, and Triple H was already in the ring. They kind of showed Triple H, but they didn't really explain it. Maybe they'll do that on Raw, but I think it would have worked better if they would have explained that part of it. Then we had JTG come out, which was kind of funny because Crime Time both came out, and they flipped a coin. JTG flipped a coin, called heads or tails. It was a double-sided coin, so he basically won. It was a cute little, Crime Time skit, which I always like, so there was that. Next we had Ted DiBiase, then we had Chris Jericho. As you know, we had a lot of good guys in there, and if you notice, I'm not talking about anyone getting eliminated. That's why I'm going down this list. Then we had Mike Knox, then we had The Miz, then we had Finlay, then we had Cody Rhodes, then we had The Undertaker, then we had Goldust come out, and Goldust and Cody kind of went at it for a while, which was very cool. This match was booked up to this point very, very well. It was booked very well. There was a lot of storylines going into it. Guys were coming in. You had a lot of good stuff going on. Everyone was looking fairly good. And this was a nice little storyline within the match. TNA, take notes, please. And Cody then got rid of Goldust. They made the comment that they are brothers, so it was kind of cool to see. Then we said CM Punk. CM Punk came out, which was very cool, and he got the go to sleep on Triple H right out of the bat, which I freaking marked out for, and I'm sure just about everybody did. Triple H did look like he went out there, and I will give him credit. He took a lot of guys' moves. He did sell for a lot of guys. but I will talk about that in a minute. Then we had Mark Henry come out, then we had Shelton Benjamin, and at this point, things kind of started to go, bleh. You had too many guys in the ring, not enough guys getting eliminated, and there weren't a lot of guys coming out that people got really excited about. Then you got William Regal, Kofi Kingston, Kane, R-Truth. Then Rob Van Dam came out. Yes, he came out for one night only for all of you people that are going to ask. This was insane. He got one of the loudest, crazy, freaking pops you will ever hear. He probably got the biggest pop of the night. Only Undertaker got a bigger pop, though Undertaker got a very sustained pop. He got a big pop, and then there was a lot of Undertaker chants from that point on. Just insane how over he was. It was pretty crazy. Punk eliminated Regal during this point. Taker eliminated Benjamin. Mysterio had eliminated Henry by this point. Then Brian Kendrick came out. Triple H immediately got rid of Brian Kendrick, though Kendrick did get rid of Kofi, and then Triple H got rid of Kendrick, which actually worked. It wasn't a bad spot by any stretch of the imagination. Then Dolph Ziggler came out. Kane eliminated him. Then Santino Marella came out and boop, beat freaking Warlord's record, which we always see when they do the little hype thing for the Royal Rumble. 1 second, yes, Santino Marella. 1 second, it did work with Santino's gimmick. It was funny and it was good. And yeah, then 29, we got Hacksaw Jim Duggan. No idea why, though the fans were definitely into him. So it worked on that point. But as you can tell, there was really, after Rob Van Dam, there was really no one to really get the fans really into it, I didn't feel. The last guy we got was Big Show, which was a very big letdown. A very big letdown for the fans. You just kind of felt the fans go, after that point. They probably should have saved Rob Van Dam for that spot, knowing, because the fans would go, ooh, we didn't get Christian, but we got Rob Van Dam. So, I think that would have been better. Then Show eliminated Hacksaw. Show eliminated R-Truth. Show eliminated Punk. Show eliminates Mysterio and Knox. Kane eliminated Finlay. Then Jericho eliminated RVD. Taker eliminated Jericho. Legacy eliminated Kane. And then we got down to Show, Triple H, Taker, and Legacy. And then Orton eliminated Show. Show then eliminated Taker. Taker was in this as well. And then we got it down to Triple H taking on the entire Legacy. Triple H eliminated Rhodes and DiBiase, and then at the very end, Orton, who Triple H thought he had eliminated Triple H. A very good Rumble, not a great Rumble, I wouldn't say. Only because there's if you've watched a lot of these, there's always the young guy that kind of gets the push coming out of this. But because we had really nobody eliminated until near the end of the show, end of the match, it's so few guys eliminated that really you didn't have a lot of young guys looking all that strong. They looked good, they didn't look strong. It didn't look like you had the new young talent who looked, who was getting kind of that prolonged push. Though a lot of guys looked very good. Instead, so maybe they were going for that. Though I will say my one big complaint is when they got down to the final guys, the only young guys you had were Rhodes and DiBiase, and I'm sure some people say, well, see, they got the young guy push, but really they were eclipsed by Orton. It was kind of, they were more eclipsed by Orton and didn't really seem to get that. It would have been nice to have seen, instead of Triple H, or instead of Taker and Show, Punk, or maybe Shelton, or, somebody, one of the other young guys, up-and-coming young guys, be there near the end, a face to kind of, maybe be an MVP to an extent, who got eliminated fairly early, just to kind of just give a rub-off to those guys. But other than that, I just felt like when they got down to kind of the last 6 guys, I would say, maybe, I'd say about the last 6 guys, it felt like, okay, we're going to see something cool, but I think the fans could see what was going on, and there wasn't much for the fans to really be excited about. Orton wins, which will be interesting to see now how they're going to do with the whole Vince thing. Going into WrestleMania, though, I have a lot of questions because they did tease it looked like Taker versus Shawn. They teased it. I'm still not confident that they're going to do it, but they did tease it. I'm telling you, if anyone by the WWF would even come across this, Houston would sell out like nuts if that was going to be the main event. I'm just saying that, or not even the main. It was on the card. People would go nuts for it. I think that's a match people definitely want to see. I think you can put it within even the current storyline to an extent. Maybe JBL tells Shawn, I understand, but I got something for you. Don't worry. I'll let you know when I need you. And then say, he wants revenge on Taker. He wants someone to finally beat Taker's streak. And he has picked Shawn Michaels to do that. And I think you can do it that way. There's lots of ways you can do it. But I still think you can have that match. I would imagine we're probably going to get Orton and Triple H at WrestleMania, which isn't too bad. Like I said, you imagine the Hardys and Edge and Christian in some way, form, are probably going to be with each other at WrestleMania, I would imagine. You're going to have Money in the Bank, and really I think the guy that, if you look at how everything's kind of falling out, that looks kind of out of place in all of this, is John Cena. Because apparently, if they bring in Mickey Rourke, the wrestler Mickey Rourke is going to work with is Chris Jericho. And you have your biggest draw, arguably, on the card, or in the company, and he doesn't look like he's going to have much to do in the company, unless somehow they do work it out where instead it's Triple H and Orton, it's Orton and Cena. Though I don't see that working in the storyline sense of it. I can't understand why Cena would be the guy that would go after Orton. But maybe they'll explain that. Maybe, no one thought we would care about Triple H or JBL and Shawn Michaels, and they've done a marvelous, wonderful job with that. So maybe we should have a little bit of faith. But overall, I would give this a 7.75. I definitely thought it was better than last year's, but I don't, the Rumble, while it was very good, it wasn't great. And I think that for the most part, things just didn't seem to flow very well. The first part of the Rumble match, I would say probably up to about 20, just was rocking. And then there was just too many guys in there. Even when Rob Van Dam showed up, that was a really nice moment. I mean, he got a huge monster pop, and which was good for him. But that's where I would go with it. I wouldn't recommend the show, but I thought it was a very good show. But just coming off the feeling of it, I didn't feel like it was something I would necessarily recommend. But it was still very good, and historically, maybe it will be seen as something people need to see. But just as of right now, I would say it's just an okay show, or not an okay, but just a very good show, not a great show. So there you go. And with that, I am out. Have a good one. Later.